No, the concentration of 1,000 people sitting there and being silent, that's such a beauty. When can we experience that otherwise? It happens because people try to really listen to details, what's going on. Some music is abstract in a way, it's just some sound waves in the room, but it's a very beautiful thing that people are listening to this and wants to know what happens, just from a listening point of view. And it creates an immense focus and concentration, which is always awe-inspiring and which is one of the main reasons why I continue doing this.
Welkom bij Vlak voor de Gong, een podcast waarin ik vlak voor een concert een van de muzikanten hier in Muziekcentrum De Bijlokke wegpluk om het te hebben over een pre-concertrituelen. Op zaterdag 16 maart voelde je de buzz in Muziekcentrum De Bijlokke, want er was een grote meneer gearriveerd. Het Noorse pianofenomeen Leif Ove Andsnes kwam ons verblijden met een zalig solo-recital met muziek van Schubert, Brahms en de Noorse componist Tveitt. Dit is een gesprek waar ik wel naar uitkeek, dus ik verontschuldig me alvast voor mijn zenuwachtige lachjes tussendoor. Voor de rest was Leif Ove Andsnes zijn sympathieke zelf, met een karrevracht aan verhalen en heel interessante pre-concertrituelen. Maar oordeel vooral zelf. Welkom bij Vlak voor de Gong. Hello, and welcome in Muziekcentrum De Bijlokke.
Hello, nice to be here.
This is not your first visit here to our beautiful hall, but I don't know if you remember, it has been since 2005. You performed Beethoven here with the Philharmonie, now Antwerp Symphony Orchestra.
Yes, yeah.
But that was before the renovations. And
yes.
I saw that you shared a picture earlier on your Instagram by the hall. What do you think about the hall?
It's a very special building. I mean, it feels like being on a really historic ground. Mm-hmm. So one enters with a kind of a special spirit. It's very nice.
Mm-hmm. If there should be anyone who doesn't know who you are listening to this podcast right now, could you introduce yourself in a few words?
I'm Leif Ove Andsnes. I'm a Norwegian pianist who has been playing internationally for about 30 years, but doing quite a lot of concerts. I live in Norway, in Bergen. I have a family with 3 children, and half of the year I'm touring. I play a diverse repertoire from not so much Bach maybe, but from the Viennese classics until contemporary music. And very happy to be on recital tours like right now, where I can do and dive into one program and do it about 10 times and find more and more treasures in this music which I'm doing.
I want to talk about the program for sure. Maybe let's start with Norway, the country you grew up in, you still live. What's so special about Norway?
It's sometimes difficult to see specifically when you're from a place because you take it for granted. But I think one thing which is special about Norway is that we have a lot of unspoiled nature still, even if there's less of it also in my country. And there is a great sensation that the 4 seasons are very different. So winter is obviously very different from summer and of the explosion of the spring, and the light is obviously very different. In the winter it gets very dark. I'm sometimes very happy that I can travel in the winter.
I was going to ask.
And in the summer, on the other hand, I really love to spend time in the north. And with my family, I usually go in July to a summer house in the quite north of Norway, because my wife is from there.
Yeah, to spend some time in nature.
Yeah, really to connect with nature and because of the light and simply because we love to be there. And when we're fishing and we go hiking in the mountains and by the sea and the silence, just the sounds of the nature, but not to get away from the city life.
As a sort of counterpoint from your life as a musician, as being on the road, as being with music all the time, maybe?
Maybe also, yeah. I mean, silence is essential in music, of course, as sometimes the greatest tension between the notes, but also, we know before one starts a concert and when the music ends, the silences can be very strong and very important.
The silence of an audience, a full concert hall, full with people, being quiet, is something totally different than playing an empty concert hall. It's what I've noticed in the COVID period.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, the concentration of 1,000 people sitting there and being silent, that's such a beauty. When can we experience that otherwise? Mm-hmm. And it happens because people try to really listen to details, what's going on in the music, which is music is abstract in a way. It's just some sound waves in the room, but it's a very beautiful thing that people are listening to this and wants to know what happens just from a listening point of view. And it creates an immense focus and concentration, which is always awe-inspiring and which is one of the main reasons why I continue doing this.
Mm-hmm. On your program tonight is also music by Tveitt, Norwegian composer. I've read in interviews that you like to add Norwegian music to the program because it's not so well known in the rest of the world.
Well, only if I feel that it has really some value of things that I think people should know, but not only Norwegian music, but it sometimes feels the piano has such a wealth of repertoire. So if I can find music that people don't know, even if it might be by a famous composer, like the last couple of years I've played a lot of piano music by Dvorak, Antonín Dvorak. He's a famous composer, of course, but people don't know his piano music. So that feels really wonderful to introduce this beautiful music to people.
Also on the program is a Schubert piano sonata, a piece you haven't played in a long time before this recital tour.
Before this last year, I didn't play it for about 25 years. So there are pieces that I come back to. And this happens when you get to a certain age, I guess. And it's quite nice because it's, of course, after 25 years, in a way, you feel like you have to start from scratch, but you don't, because it sits somewhere in the brain. It's incredible what the brain can store from movements and memories.
And feeling maybe as well.
Yes. But that's the wonderful thing, that also I feel like such a different human being today than 25 years ago. That is also, I find new feelings and in a way more emotions and more freedom in this music, more clarity in my thought about what I want musically and so on. So some of it is there from the old days, but then I find more, which is very nice.
You've lived a life in between those 25 years, so all those experiences, you can put them in the music.
Yes, absolutely. Music is fed with life as a general, who you are, who you become, who you develop to become. And of course also I have played a lot of other music in the meantime, and this kind of the horizon hopefully becomes bigger. And you can never know how the development is as a musician. Some musicians had their peak when they were 15, others when they are 85. So hopefully one can always grow.
You have a busy week. You've been to Scotland, Lugano, then Amsterdam, and now Ghent, and that's just this 1 week.
And today I have to be careful with my energy, because I also played a concert yesterday in Amsterdam. And normally I try to have a day in between each concert. This time it was not possible. So it's always, I have to be careful to get enough sleep, especially when after a concert, I'm physically tired and so. And so this afternoon I've also been sleeping a little bit.
Good preparation. That's preparation. Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that you try to spend a lot of time at home in combining with touring. So touring is pushed in a few weeks and then you stay a few weeks at home. Does it help you to focus on those weeks of playing and focus on staying at home, being at home?
Yeah, well, in general, because I have 3 children, I try not to be too long periods away from home. So very rarely more than 2 weeks. And then I prefer to come home for a few days and then maybe travel again. So that's quite normal, and I am privileged that I have the freedom to that my manager can plan it so that I can do like now, that I had 9 recitals or so in one period within 2 or 3 weeks, and that's really wonderful, instead of having to jump from repertoire to repertoire all the time. So when I come home after this, I can have 10 days, and then I'm playing a Beethoven concerto in France and things like that.
So you didn't have a day off before getting here, but when you do you visit the city, or how do you spend your energy on those non-concert days?
It depends. Sometimes there will be some friends that I like to see, because when I'm on a tour like this, I end up spending quite a lot of time alone. So there might be some meeting or some dinner, but I also like to walk around in the cities I'm getting to. Unfortunately, this time in Ghent there is so little time that I only have a few hours in the hotel, and then I have to leave tomorrow morning. Really.
To Berlin, right? Or
to Lyon.
Lyon.
Yeah.
Too bad you couldn't spend some more time in Sweden.
I know it's
that's
very
only. Yeah,
charming
you have
city.
to come back. That's all we have. That's all we say. So you have a decade-long career. I suppose you've been to a lot of places all over the world. Are there some countries or cities you have yet to visit?
Oh yes, of course. But from the places where there are, really a lot of active classical music, I've maybe been to most of those bigger cities, I would say. But I have in fact never been in Africa, for instance. So there, never in India or places like that. So there are lots of places I don't come to. And on the other hand, I've maybe been 30 times in Brussels. So, there are certain places one comes quite often back to. And I like that feeling also, that there's a familiarity. Because you get to know the hall, the organizer, maybe the hotel, maybe a restaurant, maybe some places that you go and you feel I like the feeling of having a homely feeling many places in a way, not only in my home, but that I know these specific streets of New York or in London or wherever it is.
Or Brussels.
Or Brussels, yeah.
And you pick up friends everywhere, pick up favorite restaurants everywhere, you have places to go, which is so a city becomes more than just a concert hall, it becomes...
Yeah, one has to create a life, and then... but of course, very often, especially on a recital tour like this, where I'm moving every second day or so, it's busy. And I also have to prepare pieces for the future, not only this program, but... so there's a lot of work.
Of all the places you've been to, what is the weirdest place you ended up at, where you think, how the hell did I get here in this place?
I don't know. I mean, I sometimes play in very small places in my own country. I like to go. For instance, I've been 3 times to Spitsbergen, which is... I don't know if you know where it is, but it's between the top of Norway and the North Pole. Yeah. Basically, it's an island where there's a treaty that Norway is running sort of half of it, and then the Longyearbyen, which is a small town of 2,000 people. That's a sort of Norwegian town. And there are wonderful people there, and they have a culture house where they fill it up. There are always like 10% of the population coming to my concerts, at 200 people. And it's not because there are no other concerts there. There are lots of other in different genres and things. But it's an insane place to visit because, in fact, human beings shouldn't be up there. It is so... there are polar bears.
Running around. Yeah.
Well, not so much in town, but you have to be careful. You have to watch, and the incredibly harsh nature, of course. Last time I was there was right before the pandemic, and I was on a snowmobile for half a day the day after my concert. Oh, really? And was so covered by clothes because it was so cold. It was minus 27 plus strong wind. So I had like 6 layers of clothes or something on me, and I was still, my hands were freezing. So that's one of the most unusual places I've been playing.
And in those moments, do you think, where can music bring me? This is thanks to music that I'm here.
Yes, yeah. I feel very lucky to have such experiences because of music, of course.
Could you estimate how many concerts you've given in your career?
Oh, I don't know. The last 13 years, because we got our first daughter 13 years ago, and then I decided that I was going to reduce a little bit my concert activity, and since then I've been playing about 70 concerts per year. There was, of course, a little break with the pandemic, but apart from that, before that, I have to say, for a 10-15 year period, I was playing I was playing over 100 concerts a year.
Okay.
And then in the beginning of my career, before that, not so much, of course, was building myself up, but it becomes quite a lot of concerts.
Yeah, it's over 2,000. And the question I had in mind was, do you still feel stressed before a concert?
I always feel a kind of tension and butterflies in my stomach, which is necessary. Mm-hmm. I remember one time I had food poisoning during the night. It was in California. I had to go somewhere with the orchestra out in the desert in the afternoon. I was totally tired and exhausted because of this. I had no strength in my body, and I sat down to play the concert, and I felt no adrenaline. There was no nerves, nothing. And I suddenly understood how important that is. To be a little bit nervous and to be excited, to have the tension.
To know what's at stake.
Yeah, because there was nothing at stake. I was looking at the audience and thinking, why are you here? Why am I here? There was no feeling of importance in the notes at all. Mm-hmm. I was playing Beethoven, the most important music there is, and there was nothing at stake. That was a terrible feeling. Mm-hmm. And I realized at that moment how grateful one has to be for nervosity or for the excitement of the moment. And so that's really part of it. And I always feel at least some of it. Even when I know a program quite well, I'm not very nervous, but I have to be on and I have to deliver, and it's important. And so there's always some of it.
Mm-hmm. Is there a difference between in stress level between parentheses when playing a solo recital or being an orchestra soloist?
In stress level, it completely depends for me on the repertoire, how much I have done it. If it's, for instance, a big concerto for the first time or a big sonata for the first time, I will be very concentrated and very stressed in a way it can be in a small town somewhere, rural. It doesn't matter if it's there or in New York. It still has it's the first time I have to do this in front of an audience, and it's like a hurdle. I have to get over that. So I cannot say that one thing is more stressful than the other. With orchestra, sometimes the process has to happen very fast. You're there just for 2 days rehearsing with an orchestra. And then if it hasn't worked so well, you can be a little bit stressed for that and so on. So I guess in the working process towards a concert, there can be a little bit more stress maybe because of lack of time.
You mentioned it before we started recording, but recording a podcast isn't your usual preparation for a concert. So what do you usually do?
I usually come to the concert hall at least an hour before, so there's no stress in practically before I check the piano if I can get on stage before the audience comes in. Works a little bit with the piano technician maybe, last minute things, adjusting things, and then I sit down and I play certain things, certain passages for myself in the dressing room, not with giving energy like in the concert, but more like a little bit cold, neutral, but for the memory to remember certain things. And then quite often I do some physical exercise to find the core muscles and to feel awake physically when I go on stage, and that helps me, especially with the years. I feel that more and more necessary actually,
because it is weird. It's the highlight of your day, but it's dark.
With the years I wake up earlier than I used to, and then of course sometimes I have to play at 9 or 10 in the evening, and to really feel this energy, first of all I try to sleep a little bit in the afternoon. If I can never sleep long, but just a little bit, and then to do some exercises. Sometimes I even go to the gym a little bit in the afternoon, not to exhaust myself, but to do some exercises to feel really
to wake your body up again. Yeah. What's the very last thing you think about before you go on stage?
About breathing. I sometimes, if you have tension and feel nervous, it's so important to feel rooted, to feel like you're part of the earth. And a way to feel that is, of course, deep breathing, and also sometimes singing. Okay. I might even sing backstage because you feel your body so well. And if I'm playing with an orchestra, especially if they start an introduction without me, I'm very often singing the bass line together with the cellos and basses. So.
To get the resonance right.
Yeah, it makes me feel connected to myself and to my breathing and to the music.
After a concert, do you feel hyped up by the adrenaline, or are you completely empty?
Fortunately, hyped up by the experience and by the feeling of sharing music with people. Sometimes completely empty if I'm very tired, exhausted, or maybe if I haven't felt uplifted by the experience. Sometimes because of the relationship with the piano, I don't feel so well, or there's something acoustic, or I didn't feel I could reach the audience. It's so subjective, but you can feel vulnerable and a bit empty. But fortunately, a lot of the times I feel very grateful about the experience and uplifted. And full of energy.
Yeah, I hope you have some energy left after tonight, because you're heading out. So Lyon and Berlin, right here. Then in April, going to France, Austria, USA, and Canada. Afterwards, Sweden, Norway, Germany, Austria. What struck me is that it's always a mix between solo recitals and orchestral pieces. Do you find it important to combine those?
Yeah, and also sometimes chamber music with other musicians, which I've done a lot in my life, maybe more earlier than I do now, but still I do that. I have my own chamber music festival in Norway, actually, in a place called Rosendal. Happens every August. And so, yes, that's the richness of being a musician, that I can do all these different things, which brings out different things in me. Now that when I play recitals, it's a very, very solitary experience, but it's also wonderful just to concentrate on my own playing and so on. But of course, to play with others is a great joy.
Mr. Andsnes, thank you for your time. It's 7:30, so perfect.
Yeah, I better get ready.
Thanks very much, and
thank
enjoy
you.
The concert. Bye. Een 20-tal minuutjes tegenover Leif Ove Andsnes zitten, daar word je zo zen van. Ik zou het iedereen aanraden. Of probeer toch op zijn minst een van zijn volgende concerten bij te wonen, want hij palmde onze Concertzaal alvast helemaal in met die prachtige muziek van Schubert, Brahms en Tveitt. De volgende aflevering van Vlak voor de Gong is meteen de laatste van dit seizoen. Mijn 11e gast is niemand minder dan dirigent Ilim Can, die dit seizoen afscheid neemt als chefdirigent van Antwerp Symphony en dus op 23 maart in die hoedanigheid nog 1 keertje te gast was in onze Concertzaal. Ben je benieuwd wie er nog allemaal langskomt in Muziekcentrum De Bijlokke? Check dan zeker onze website www.bijlokke.be voor de volledige concertkalender. De muziek die je vandaag hoorde was achtereenvolgens Schubert's pianosonate nummer 14, Tveitts pianosonate nummer 29 en dan opnieuw Schubert impromptu nummer 1 in fa klein uit zijn 4 impromptus opus 142. Dit was Vlak voor de Gong, een podcast van Muziekcentrum De Bijlokke. Luister je graag naar de podcast, laat dan een review achter en deel je liefde met al je vrienden, kennissen en collega's. Bedankt om te luisteren en tot de volgende keer.